So I've done plenty of testing of our Slender NPC character now. Let's start putting it all together. Let's build a scene and bring in all the things that hopefully you've been watching and learning up to here. So all the way back in terrain, I did create a test terrain in the night aspect. If I remove the light there. Okay, so we have a nighttime scene, mucked around with some fog and ambience. It is still a bit light in there, but we're setting up our scene now. This was just our example. And we have our skybox. Okay, so there's our test terrain scene. So let's make this the start of our Slender level. Okay. Slender level 1. Okay, so now we've created this new scene using the information that we set up previously. Now I'm going to go back to the render settings first of all. I'm going to bring down the ambient light even darker. That's way too light. There we go. So we've got a bit of light coming off. It's not good to pick a perfect black, but I'll tell you what, it's not far off perfect black that we're using. I should even cross-reference the old videos. Anyway. Okay, I'm happy. There's our ambient light. Now fog, we could probably, that's probably sitting a little low too. Fog, almost blacking everything out. Okay, we won't know until we get the light in the scene and make this happen. So let's start putting together everything. Now we're in our level 1. We don't need a directional light, so even though that was disabled, let's just get rid of it. Save our scene because we've made some settings to our render settings. And let's start plugging in all our things. All our assets and scripts that we've created. Let's start off with our player. So we'll get our standard assets. Oh look, I've even got the first person controller in here for testing. So our player is already set up. I hope you did the train video. And let's see, walk around, run. Oh, we can't run. That's something different. Okay. So it is still looking a little bit light out there. Okay, let's add our torch and get some realism happening. So let's create an empty game object. And this will be our flashlight. Okay. This is always going to be moving with us, so I can make it a child of the controller or the camera. Let's just keep it simple. Let's put it there. Zero it out. Let's jump down to our first person controller and see where that torch object is. So I've got it mid torso kind of thing. Alright, let's add our torch script. Now, also way back when, I was talking about making our scripts smarter, how to work for us, especially with the NPC movement. We said if we attach our script to something, it requires a component of rigid body. Now let's look at our flashlight. So if we open up our flashlight, we are modifying a light component and then the variables of that light component. So this script absolutely needs a light component. So let's just say that. And script require component. There it is. And what do we need? We need a light component attached to this script. Now, alright, let's just show what that's going to do. No obvious mistakes. So we have our flashlight object highlighted. Grab our flashlight, drag it onto the empty. As you can see, immediately it's attached a light component because our script requires it. So when you're adding it, if it doesn't have it, it will add it. Now let's look at what's gone wrong here. we've got a point light. We want a spotlight. That's what we want. So again, we're looking at how to make this script smarter. How can we get it to do that for us? A little bit worried that it's not actually showing up anything, to tell you the truth. But we'll get to that. Okay, we want a spotlight. When we pulled it in, it was a directional light. Let's bring up light in the Unity scripting reference. So we'll have our light. The type of light. Okay, spotlight, directional, or point light. We want a light type of spotlight, so we can even pinch that right here from the scripting reference. Now the other thing I talked about optimization is caching component to use later. See, I'm just calling directly on the light component. I'm going to leave that. That's just too much extra work for me to do in a video, but you know how to do it, you know what it's about. Okay, so in the start function, we're going to set our light type to our light type of a spotlight. Save that out. Now this only works when we're adding these components. See, okay, we can't remove the component because our script needs it, so let's take away the script first, and then let's take away the light. Now let's start again. We have our flashlight, empty game object. Grab the flashlight manager, drag it on. We have a point light, but that was in the start function. We rectified that. Let's hit play. So there we go. Even if we've forgotten, we now have a spotlight from our light. Now, I want to work on this next issue we have. Let's go to the spotlight. Why can't we see that? What's going wrong there? What happens if we bring up the intensity? Okay, so it's there, but it's just not very strong. If we play with some of these handles, take the light out of our scene. So we should be staring directly at some trees there. We need some light. Range. Let's increase the range. There we go. The light was too close because there is a fall off. Okay, so we've set a range of 25, but there still is a fall off. As you can see, there we're bringing up the intensity. And that's what we want. We want that white circle to appear on the ground just below us. So let's start raising the position and see if that affects things. Not too much. What is going on? So we have two values. We have that and we have our intensity. Okay, let's just muck around with 5 and then we'll do some play testing. We'll run around and see if that's any good or not. So what else is happening here? We've got our flicker. This is our horror game, so we're going to use that flicker. We don't have any consumable sources, and let's start with it turned on. So let's save that scene, hit play. So that's why. See, as I look up and down, that torch isn't moving. That's what we can do. I said I was umming and ahhing about making it a child of the camera, and I am, because our camera is going to rotate up and down as we move. So I can probably even drop that. Well, that's in the same view as the camera. Okay, so our light's there now. We want it about shoulder height. So let's bring it down. There we go. We're starting to get that glow on the floor I originally had. Awesome. Alright, so let's put the bottom of the arc at our feet. Now let's hit play just to test it before we save it. Okay, so look, now we're starting to get that torch behavior. And now we can see the intensity is definitely working. Alright. Definitely haven't got any kind of range to it. Let's find another tree. We have to get up close to that tree. So again, this is just you customizing your own scene, getting the feel and the ambience right for yourself, and deciding what you want this kind of thing to be. So I'll stop that. Now, I really don't want to bring the intensity up because I didn't like that intensity anyway. So, drop that down to 3. But I'm going to increase the range. Let's make it 40. There you go, see all these values to play with. Even that's quite big. So now, with that range, we can fiddle around, play test everything. Okay, I like that already, much better. I hit the ground, sure, it's going to be brighter as it gets closer to us, but look, just a little bit off. That's a really decent intensity, that's working for us. Okay. This is a pretty open world that I've built here. Okay, let's get quite close to the trees with the light. You can see it on the terrain. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. That's working for me. So I'm using an angle. I like even numbers. Now make it a tiny bit wider. Intensity of 3. One more play test. Okay. No, that does the job for me. Again, the background looks a little bit light, but you want a bit of light. Just say that guy was walking up the hill there. The light wasn't shining on him, but at least he's got some kind of light source to reflect on him. Okay, like I said, that's working for me. So that's the flashlight component added to the first person controller. Save the scene. We're now starting to build our Slender level.